Recording. Seems to me that it says starting. Okay, we are recording. Joining me on the phone from jolly old England, Philip Wright from Paper Lace. What part of England are you from?
Nottingham.
I didn't know if you were still there or not.
Yeah, I'm still here. Born and bred.
You guys look like the biggest band to ever come out of Nottingham, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There's been nothing since. Mind you, Jake Bugg. He's from Nottingham. You've heard of Jake Bugg?
I have heard of him, but I'm not familiar with his material, to be honest.
I think you'd like it.
Ah, nice.
He's pretty old school.
The thing I wanted to start off with today, Philip, and I'm looking at my notes because we're talking via video, but the radio audience won't know that. So I'm going to refer to my notes. I'd like to say, first of all, condolences and my sympathy. And I speak on behalf of a lot of the fans, on behalf of bassist Cliff Fish, who died from cancer on April 14th. That was just a few days ago, so that's still an open wound and a very recent death. Sorry to hear about that, your longtime pal and music mate.
Absolutely, yeah. I met him when I was 19. It's been a long relationship. I loved him like a brother.
Wow, that must have been devastating. I'm sorry to all his family and fans. We do send condolences from here in Ashland, Oregon, USA. But he had a long run, didn't he? He had a good. He rocked his whole life, didn't he? Pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Because he was 73 years young, right?
That's right.
So, are you about the same age?
I'm 75.
Are you? Okay. Yeah. Well, awesome. I think rock and roll is like a fountain of youth.
It is, definitely.
Yeah, Charlie Harper from the UK Subs, I believe he's in his 80s now.
Yeah, wow.
God bless him.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, always. Fingers and toes.
Yeah.
Let's see, I've got a list of questions. Now, in America, Paper Lace had the one hit with the Night Chicago Died, which was a very big song here. I was a big fan of that song when it came out in 1974. Now, I have to ask, had any of you in the band come to the actual state of Chicago before that song was recorded?
No, not at all.
I wondered.
Why? But the geographical faux pas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Al Capone and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've of course played Chicago since then, right?
No.
Really?
We've never worked the States.
You know what? I did not know that.
No, I've been trying. I'm talking to somebody at the moment, but he's very hopeful about what happens, and couldn't believe that we'd never toured the States or done the States in any way, shape, or form. Really, we've played Canada, but not the US of A.
I am so presumptuous, man. I just thought for sure you had. Wild.
Yeah, absolutely.
I bet that's something you've always wanted to do.
Definitely, very definitely.
Well, we'd love to have you, that's for sure. And now in England and the UK and other places, you had several hits. Of course, the Black Eyed Boys, The Night Chicago Died, and Billy Don't Be a Hero, which was released over here in the States about 4 months before or after you guys did over there. Is that correct?
After, yeah. By Bono. Yeah.
Oh, Bono. What did you think of their version of the song?
I didn't like it at all. I thought ours was far superior. And
yeah,
there's actually been a couple of guys, I don't know what radio station, but a couple of guys did a sort of comparison thing. They played both and they passed comment on it, and they deduced right at the end that our version was better.
Well, that's great, man. Can I ask you why Paper Lace only did the 2 albums? Is there any reason you guys? I know you did some re-recordings and things. Did you decide just to do the 2 and you were just happy with that, or what was the deal with that?
No, we left our record company, which was Bus Stop, and we joined up with EMI, and we did a bit of writing and we did a bit of recording. but we never got past just one single release. And then sort of, as bands do, sort of in the mid-80s, Musical Differences said that we should part company, and that's what happened, really. And we both,
I know.
We all went off in different directions.
Yeah, I know that several of the guys had left the band. I believe it was 1976.
Yeah, 76. We got 2 new guys in.
Yeah.
Cliff and myself got 2 new guys in. Peter Oliver he used to be with the New Seekers, and Jamie Moses, who is quite a prolific guitarist nowadays.
Speaking of guitarists, I've got to give a nice plug and shout out to your very own Phil Hendricks, who's been on the show. And he's a legendary guitarist in his own right.
He is, very definitely, yeah. Yeah, the meeting with him when back in, oh dear, when was it? He does some writing, sort of CD information, and he does that in his spare time and whatever. And he got in touch with me because he said, would you mind if I asked you a few questions? We hadn't met or anything. And he said, I've been looking at your albums, and I'm doing the stuff for the CD, because you've got a double CD coming out in 2010, I think that was. And I said, yeah, by all means, give me a ring. He said, I just want to get these stories straight, because I've read your album stuff, and it's very conflicting sort of things. Anyway, when I think it was about a year later, I joined Facebook, and it automatically sends out a friend request to anyone you've been in contact with, or it did at that time. And he got in touch, and he said, what are you doing now? And I said, I'm Cliff and myself are putting the band together. We're looking for a guitarist. And he said, I do a bit of that. And I said, do you do vocals as well? And he said, yeah, no problem. And I said, we ought to meet up if you're interested. And I sort of, his place from my place is about 2.5 hours drive. So we met in the middle, really, a place called Grantham. And we chatted over several coffees in this coffee bar for about 3 hours. And and I said, well, I don't know about you, but I feel a sort of that I really we get on, and I'd like you to join the band. And he said, fine, terrific. And I remember Cliff saying, I said to Cliff, I said, look, I found the guy, I found the guitarist, terrific guy, absolutely. And Cliff said, what does he play like? And I said, I'm the Foggy Sardine. I said, but you'll really like the guy.
He has great conversation.
Yeah. Just what we want.
Well, turns out you did the right thing, man, because that guy is so talented. I love his work that he's been doing with Drew Osmond and his solo work. And of course, you're talking about the work he does doing like liner notes and things like that for like Cherry Red. And I read some of the stuff he did for the Bay City Rollers, of course. I have to ask, what was your opinion of the Bay City Rollers when those guys were coming up?
I never liked them. They weren't a guys band, were they? They were a female attraction band. They were there for the girls, really. That was it. And I never liked their music, but Phil loves them to pieces. He's sold on 70s Bay City Rollers.
Yeah, I have to admit it. I'm a fan as well.
Oh dear.
Well, off of that subject, I just had to ask. All 3 of your hits that you guys had were written by 2 guys, and those 2 guys also had their pen on other songs too, like for instance, "Hitchin' a Ride." Yeah, there's so many songs. Who in the heck were Mitch Murray and Peter Callender, and how they become so important in the Paper Lace story?
They were multi-millionaires when we met them. because they'd written all. Do you remember Freddie and the Dreamers?
Oh yeah.
They wrote all their hits.
Ah.
Jerry and the Pacemakers.
Oh yeah.
They wrote several hits for them. They wrote. Tony Christie wrote everything but Amarillo. They wrote because Amarillo was Neil Sedaka, but they wrote the Ballad of Bonnie and Clyde. They wrote that for Georgia Fane.
Oh yeah.
They wrote songs for Goodbye Sam, Hello Samantha, Cliff Richard. The list is endless, absolutely endless. And we took part. We took part in an audition for a TV talent competition that was around at the time in 1970. We did this audition, and we passed the audition. They asked us to do several songs, and we thought, okay, we'll hear about this in a month's time. We'll be on TV. And 3 years later, we got this letter, 1973. We got this letter to say, would you appear on the show? We thought you were great at the audition. I thought, crack, it took you 3 years to make your mind up. And we actually thought at the time, do we really want this at this point in our career? Because we'd made a few records, no hits, but we'd had a few releases. And then we looked at the viewing audience numbers, and it was they were getting 7 million a week sort of viewing audience.
For the listening audience now, that show was called Opportunity Knocks.
Yeah, and we appeared on that show, and Connie, who was Peter Callender's wife, she was a big fan of Opportunity Knocks, and she was watching it, and she saw us, and she knew that Mitch and Pete had written this song, and they were looking for someone, and they were looking for maybe an established artist, to give the song to. And she said, well, why don't you kick these boys off in their career? Why don't you give them the song and see what comes? And she says, I think they're really good. And that was it, really. Our management got in touch with Mitch Murray, and the rest is history, as they say.
Wow, that is a great story. I did not know some of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And what a lot of people might not know is that you guys originally formed in 1967 as Music Box, doing right. Like Beach Boys covers, things like that. Yep. You changed your name to Paper Lace in 1969.
Yep.
Of course, The Night Chicago Died was it's one of those songs that when we played on the radio show, everyone's like, oh, I love that song. I haven't heard it in so long. I love that one. And it's just got that great nostalgic feel here in the States. It might have been just one hit, but everyone remembers it. Everyone knows that song.
Yeah, there's a radio station in Manhattan that I get a sort of there's some sort of performing rights thing, and I get a check from the States every 3 months. And the big payer is this radio station. I think it's called Sirius.
Yeah, Sirius. Sirius FM.
Yeah,
XM. Right, XM.
Something like that. Yeah, in Manhattan, and they are nice payers.
Yeah, that's satellite radio. They're like the big guys. They run everything now. So.
Wow.
Yeah, see, I've been hosting this show for 23 years, and I keep praying that somebody somewhere at some point will email me and offer me some gig on their satellite radio gig, so I can have the big checks.
We live in hope.
I'm sorry? Pardon me?
I said we live in hope.
We do. In 1997, you joined the band Sons and Lovers. Are you still with that band?
No.
Also in 2015, is that the year you joined the original Jukebox Heroes?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Of course, with Phil Hendricks.
Yeah,
Phil Hendricks is in the band. Dave Major.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Do the Jukebox Heroes still play out?
They do, yeah, but I'm not a member anymore because there was one or two people left. And the ethos of that band was that we all had a link with a different band in the 70s. There was one guy who took over from Noddy Holder in Slade,
Oh, yeah.
And then there was Pete Phipps, who was the original Glitter Band drummer. And there was Bill Hendricks, who'd appeared with Les McEwen. Dave Major had played with T-Rex, the music of Mark and Nicky. They were the sort of descendants from Mark Bolan. And a guy called Jeff Brown, he was with Sweet, Andy Scott's Sweet for a long time. And then there was myself, Paper Lace. And we'd all got, and we only played those records that those particular bands had made, the hits. And then one or two people left, and it just didn't feel the same.
Okay, so you did your time, it was fun, then you left.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't have much more time, but I'd like to ask you, one of our listeners who's a big fan of yours, Karen Lee in Rhode Island, USA, wanted me to ask you if you have ever written or have ever thought about writing an autobiography.
I'm in the process of doing that.
Are you?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah. I'm about 130 pages in, and I've reached 1975.
There you go. Well, I tell you, man, I can't wait for that to come out, because we're some voracious rock and roll biography reading people over here, so we can't wait to read that one.
Absolutely, yeah, that'd be great. It's
That'll be fun.
From it's my life story, yeah, completely.
Cool. Well,
earliest memory.
I can't wait for that. And can you let people know how they can reach you, or how, if they want to keep up with your musical stuff, is there a website or a place people can go on social media, perhaps?
Yeah, there's a website. It's www.originalpaperlace.com.
Originalpaperlace.com is the address.
Yep.
We are talking with Philip Wright, original singer and drummer for Paper Lace. It's been a pleasure, of course.
Absolutely.
We had a heck of a start earlier trying to figure out Skype and Zoom, but we finally went with Skype and it worked.
Yeah, if only for the recording.
No, I appreciate it very much, my friend, and I'll be in touch about sending some vinyl your way to get autographed for my fanboy collection.
Oh, do that! Really, do that. Have you got my email?
I will hit you up when we get done talking and privately, and I'll get that from you, and
Okay.
I'll send that package out as soon as I can.
Yeah, terrific.
Awesome. Well, long live you, long live the original Paper Lace, and God bless you, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, rock on, and may you keep doing it as long as you can, man. Cheers.